road.
Exciting. Who are you guys playing against?
Lube Civitanova. So
You get to battle your old team,
yeah,
huh?
yeah. We could say that the favorites are the number 1 seed. So, and we're coming in as the underdogs a little bit, or a lot of bit, but so it's fun.
Where's
It's
that
fun
going to
every
be
now and
played
again to
at?
play that role. Bologna.
Oh, okay.
So right down the
Cool.
street from us, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, it's good to connect with you, man. I appreciate you taking time. I know it's nighttime there, and did you just get home from practice?
Yeah, no. So we're in the hotel. We just finished dinner and therapy and all that stuff. We had practice earlier in the day.
Yeah, that's cool. It's good to meet you. I don't know if you and I haven't ever met, have we? I don't think so.
No, not formally. So
Yeah.
good to meet you too. I feel like I know you a little bit, but just watching basically all of your highlights and all that stuff. But yeah,
you're watching old footage then.
You got to study the legends, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Well, let's dig in a little bit. I know your mom. I did a little research on you. I know your mom played volleyball. When did you start liking the sport? When you were younger? When did you know, hey, this is something that I really want to explore as a player?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see. So I grew up basically all in on basketball, like from a
Me
very young
too, by the
age.
way. When I was younger,
basically all basketball. I just up until, let's see. So I started playing volleyball. I was always kind of around volleyball. My mom and dad would play in adult leagues. So I'd go and watch my mom play in an adult league and try to like pepper with my dad and see how many like bumps we could get from a young age. But I never really took it as like a serious sport like I'm really passionate about until maybe I was in middle school and I made the team and I kind of excelled at it. And then things started piling up one after another in terms of like making more teams. I got to compete at the Junior Olympics and we placed like 3rd or something. So I was like, okay, I'm starting to really like this now, especially, making friends in it, succeeding through it. But all the while basketball is still my main sport. So I was on the youth national team, but I was still like 2 or 3 years younger than everyone. And then I was on the junior national team still with the same group of guys, still being 2 to 3 years younger than everyone. And we did well. And I said, okay, I think I want to pursue this after my high school career into a collegiate career, because I can possibly see like the USAV Olympic pipeline is like youth national team going up into the senior team. So I was watching you guys and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be those guys. And I was told the youth national team can be a feeder and this and that, and you can take the appropriate steps. So that was my idea. And, I was super focused and concentrated to get there, but I'm also very fortunate to be able to have achieved that kind of goal.
When you started off playing, did you immediately kind of gravitate towards the setter position, or were you doing other things early on?
Yeah. So I was the tallest guy on my team. Hawaii is not like an extremely tall place, right? There's a lot of shorter guys there. I was the tallest guy on my team. I was, I guess you could say like the best hitter on my team as well.
Yeah.
But my coach was like, no, you're going to be our setter because you understand the game well. You're more of a cerebral player and this and that. And I was kind of mad. I was like, dude, centers get no shine. Like I want to kill the ball, I want to spike it. I was like 13 years old and I can't thank him enough because then, sure enough, I focused on that. I didn't really specialize in it. I played outside hitter and opposite for most of my high school career with my high school team. I set with the junior national team. So I kind of did all the positions, which I really love. I still try to get into passing rotations today in our practice at the end of practice with serve receive. It's just, I enjoy playing all these other positions, and obviously most setters dream about spiking the ball. So
Totally. I bet that helps your all around game as well, right? Because like people always talk about, they ask me too, like, what do you think about specialization? And I'm like, you know what? When you're early on, I think it's good that you get kind of an all around feel for all the different positions and what it looks like to have to pass, or what it looks like to have to be in the middle of the block, or whatever, you know what I mean? And then look, as you progress, it's probably, there's going to be a point when hey, I need to focus on this discipline. But when you're early on, go ball, play whatever. I mean, I remember when I was younger, when I first started playing, I was playing all the time. It didn't matter if I was setting, if I was hitting, if I was passing. I just wanted to go play. And I think that probably helped me a lot later on as I did kind of focus on eventually the position that I became.
yeah, I'd agree 100%. Like, I'm a huge advocate for, like, play all the sports,
Yeah.
play all the positions. Cause like, even like you said, like so say I'm specializing as a setter right now, but I played outside hitter for a while, obviously at a much lower level, but you're you're taking those experiences of like, okay, this ball is really hard for me to pass when I was an outside hitter. So that might help me with where I'm serving there.
Right.
Or this was uncomfortable when I was facing a certain blocker that would do this. So now I can use that in my game to make a hitter more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So there's just all, I mean, and the game's evolving so much. Like, you're as a setter, oftentimes I'll be defending a ball that's usually would be a free ball, but now there's guys like turning around and hitting like a float off of a high ball that's at 9 meters
Right.
that are just trying to make it harder. And as a setter, you got to stay put and defend before you release. So you just kind of get those reps there, and you want to be an all-around player. And I know your guys's whole run there in 2008, you guys were all around like volleyballers. You all could set, you all could dig and serve the ball for sure, but also like doing the little things like covering. All that
Yeah.
stuff is like, it's such a, I just believe like you got to get it can only help you to play all the skills and to practice all the skills. And then once you get to a certain age or a certain level, then you specialize, like you mentioned.
Right. Totally agree. So growing up in Hawaii, how hard was it for you to decide to eventually come and play at SC?
Yeah, that's a good question. That was a hard decision for me, but it was also a decision that I feel like I made earlier on in my high school career to mid high school career of, I think I want to explore a little bit off the island. I was succeeding quite a bit in basketball and volleyball, and I was kind of a big fish in a small pond.
Mm,
And so I wanted to make sure I challenged myself, got out of the comfort zone that I was in. And I was fortunate enough to go to an extremely athletically, academically strong school like SC. So it was hard to pass up for sure.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, you've played a number of years in Italy. What have you enjoyed the most, like during your time there? I mean, I know you were playing for Lube. Now you're in Modena. This is what is this, your sixth season?
This is number 6. Yeah.
What have you enjoyed the most playing there? What keeps you linked to Italy?
Oh man, it's just I think it's just, for me, one of the biggest things about living overseas, especially, and just living in another country for 6 years, like, I just gain a whole new perspective for people that are around me, that maybe if I'm back in America and somebody doesn't speak the language, doesn't speak English,
Yeah.
is brand new to the American culture and how things work, or driving on the certain side of a road, like, you just gain
Right.
a whole new perspective and respect for those people, because you're thrown in it. We've been thrown in it before.
Yeah. What's
And
funny? What's
here,
funny is
yeah.
you're reminding me of some things, because so like yesterday I went to Costco, and there was these three adults that I was kind of like, sometimes you get in the groove of like, you see the same people on the aisles because you're kind of in the groove of going down the aisles. Anyways, I was with this group, and you could tell that they were not Americans. and they were just rapping in Russian. And I was thinking to myself, because I played a year in Russia, and I was like, it kind of immediately brought me back to what you're saying. Like, I bet they come here and they go to the place like Costco and they're like, what is this place? You know what I mean? And where they're used to like maybe the stuff that they see in Russia. And I was the same way when I was there. I was like, I would go see things and I would be like, what, like, where am I right now? I wouldn't be able to speak the language or anything. And so it kind of reminded me of that a little bit as well. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think it's just it gives me a new perspective and respect for those people that are, at least like, some of them are probably coming over to America to better their lives, to better their lives for their children as well.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy decision, nor is it easy, nor is it an easy transition. Um, but also just like respect for other cultures.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like I've learned a lot from my first year to now, of like, at first I was like, this is kind of silly, like this is kind of dumb, why would you do it this way when you
Right.
could do it this way that I've done in America, and this is like how I've done it, and this and that. And now it's
Totally.
just like, okay, they're, you know, we're getting to the same point. It's just different, neither way is better nor worse, or you can have your preferences here and there, but at the end of the day, like, we're all playing extremely high level volleyball, and we're
Yeah.
all, you know, physically at similar levels, like, you know, like, whether it be like weightlifting or anything like that. So you can have your preferences, you can talk about it, and just the communication is super important. But just, you know, respect. I think that's the word that comes down to, is respect for that kind of stuff.
You have any funny stories of like when, like your first year, if you go way, way back to your first year,
Yeah. Yeah.
and kind of being immersed into a new culture and not really have lived overseas before? I'll give you an instance. So my first year, I played in Italy, and I played in Forlì, which is close to Modena,
Yeah.
and I remember when I used to go to the grocery stores, I never could figure out how to get a shopping cart. So I'd see people with carts, but I didn't understand because they were always connected to one another. And I thought, like, why do they do this? And I couldn't figure it out. So like my first like 2 or 3 weeks there, I would just grab the baskets and then just fill the baskets full because I didn't know how the shopping carts work. I didn't know you had to put in money into the cart to get the thing out. And it totally makes sense. You know, to me, it's like what you're saying is like, we don't have that in America. So I didn't know what to do. But if you think about it, like a problem at grocery stores is in the parking lots. You have the carts everywhere, right? But in Italy, you don't have that because you have to go back and insert your cart back in the thing to get your money back. And I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. For me, I just felt kind of silly once I figured out that like that's how it worked.
No, 100%. I did the exact same thing. Like the cards, like, I was just like, I don't know how to get them. I'm scared to ask anybody because I
Yeah, I
don't
know,
speak
because I felt
Italian.
stupid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Right.
it's a smaller town, so not a lot of people are speaking English.
Yeah.
And so I was like you, I had the things, and you know how you roll them, and you're way taller than I am. Like, you're probably like
Yeah.
just like squatting,
Seriously.
walking.
Oh man, that's funny. I feel good now that you actually went through that same thing as well. It makes me feel good.
I feel like the grocery store is most first year experience, like, funny stories. Like, I went to the grocery store, and I was pretty shy. You could even call it proud. Like, I didn't want to ask for help,
Right.
and I wasn't in I didn't enjoy like talking and being vulnerable because I was scared to mess up.
Yeah.
And so I went down every aisle a couple times and just tried to like memorize where things were,
Yeah.
so I didn't have to ask or like translate, where is this? And I had like some headphones or whatever, and I would either act like I was talking on the phone or just act like I was listening to music. So I would just kind of focus and not really have people like, oh, you're that volleyball player.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
definitely
funny.
grocery store stories.
Oh man, now you're getting me remembering because my first year I played with two other Americans. And so it
Okay,
was it was super nice. But
that's unique.
and we also
Yeah.
had a Finnish guy spoke perfect English. Everyone pretty much, even all the Italian guys on our team spoke pretty good English. Our coach spoke English. And so I kind of got let off the hook a little bit and I was thinking, dude, this is fantastic. I don't even need to like learn Italian very much because I could like order at restaurants and that's about all I knew. Then my second year, I go to a completely different city No one on my team speaks English. My coach
Yeah.
will refuse to speak English. Everyone's like, you have to learn Italian. And then to even make it matters worse, we were sponsored by like the local TV channel. And so every little bit of time, like 3 or 4 weeks, we'd have to go to the TV program. They would put you on camera and people would call into the show and you had to respond to them in Italian. And
Wow.
and
You
and so
couldn't even recite it.
it was brutal, man. Like they had the lights were beaming down. It was already super hot and I'm super nervous. And people would call in and the audio connection was really terrible. And I'd be like trying to
Exactly.
listen. And I'd go back to practice the next day and I'd be like, hey, so like, did you watch the show? And they're like, yeah, we watched it. And I'm like, how did I do? And they're like, dude, you were awful. Like you were just terrible. You didn't know
Yeah.
what you were talking about. And I'm like, dude, you guys got to cut me some slack here, man. I don't know what I'm doing. So now
Oh
you're getting me
man, I
remembering
hated that.
stuff.
I've been there. That reminds me of like we do team presentations every year in the beginning of the year in front of like at like a club or somewhere where there's a bunch, all your fans are there.
Right.
It's like, all right, like let's ask some questions. It's your second year, Micah. You speak Italian now, don't you? Here we go. And I was like, see, no. Yeah. It's like, oh man, I hated it. But now I'm a lot more comfortable. 6 years.
Yeah. It took some time.
I feel
You know
good.
what? It was good though that year. I learned a lot of Italian that year because I was like, dude, I
Same.
got to figure this out real quick. It was like, throw me into the deep end. I got to figure it out. So, um,
Yeah, same for me,
tell,
second year.
yeah. Tell me a little bit about like what parts of your game are you currently working on the most right now?
Yeah, that's a really good question because it's been a huge growth year for me. I think also during the quarantine or whatever you want to call it, the COVID pause,
Yeah.
where I came home from Italy, went back to Hawaii, and was able to just like you just couldn't play volleyball, right? So I was able to work on my body a lot and try to work on a lot of strength training, and just an off season that most national team players never have.
Right.
That you see the NBA, the NFL, all of these major leagues getting to, and then you see these huge transformations of bodies because they're maturing, but they're also just crushing themselves for 3 months with a
Right.
specialized trainer and only focusing on that.
Right.
So I took that time to try to do that, which was I've been jealous and asking for that for a long time. But I've also been working a ton on my technically my back set,
Mm,
just being able to technically open it up and fire it a little more rather than
mm,
kind of being straight and symmetrical here, but rather taking a little more on my right side. I don't know if it's my right side, not my left side
right.
on the camera. And so I can release it faster back. So it's not, even when I'm going a long distance setting back, it doesn't have to be a loopy ball. It can be have a lot of tempo on it and speed. So
Huh.
that's been super helpful, and that's helped me a lot. I feel like I'm setting the best I've ever have in my career, just because like having that time in Hawaii too to just break down. Me and the Shoji brothers,
Yeah.
we just got like a gym and we just repped it out like 3-4 times a week for a couple hours, and it was super helpful just to, especially when you're kind of changing a bit of your technique, to be able to just not have to get in a competition uh, phase immediately and just make a ton of errors and
Yeah.
really work the kinks out. It was huge. So I appreciate you asking that question, because I'm thinking about it a ton. I'm watching video myself every day of like making sure I'm firing it out, where I'm taking it, my timing based on how I'm jumping. So there's a lot. I can go on for days about what I'm working on.
I'm curious about what you said because I kind of want to know more. So what's the technical value of taking it off of your midline a little bit and taking it to the side to be able to go? So I'm just curious. I mean, obviously
Yeah, yeah,
you're getting an understanding from someone who knows what they're talking about, saying, hey, if you want to go quicker, if you want to have better location going back, don't take it on your midline, take it a little bit to the right. And I'm just curious what the thinking is around that.
yeah. I think it's just, so when I'm taking it more midline, and anybody that kind of does, without any rotation here, you're just kind of going back. You're just using either all shoulders, like coming back this way, like all
Right.
delts, or just arcing your back like crazy, and those are not like the most explosive muscles that you got, right? And I mean, even if you don't have a lot of back mobility, even worse.
Right.
So some guys can do it. Like Maroof is a guy that is pretty like straight back, and he'll get into some distorted positions and just fling his back in certain ways, and that works for him. But a lot of guys now are taking a little more on the right and kind of using like a rotation as well, because I mean, when you're as a middle blocker, like I'm still taking it here. I'm not really changing much. It's just when I'm flicking it afterwards, you'll see it in the follow through a little bit. But
so you're not giving anything away to the block, is what you're saying there, then.
Yeah, and like I feel like I'm able to hold neutral a lot longer.
Yeah.
Because if I were to go a long way back, I'd have to almost prepare myself to fling back.
You're almost like you're starting, right? Which is what a lot of younger middles, their coaches will say, hey, look at the setter. They'll kind of tell you when they're going back, right? Because you can see them starting to kind of arch back.
Exactly. And then so now I'm able to be all the way on the left pin almost and take it here, but know that if I'm here and stronger a little bit on my right, then I have the levers to rotate and fling back, rather than if I'm here, then I'm not really rotating. I'm kind of like pushing backwards. And so even when I'm coming off the net too, right? So if I'm face to 4 and if I'm square to 4, I'm coming this way off the right shoulder,
right,
to the left, to the other pin. And so obviously if I'm always going back, then I have to square my shoulders to two's pin and then have to set back.
Right.
So that's obviously a pretty big giveaway, and you don't see a lot of setters doing that regardless of how their technique is, but still I think it does help.
That's interesting. That makes total sense too. I was curious. What do you think it's going to take? And maybe this kind of bleeds into this question, but what do you think it takes for you to even get to another level of performance? Like, do you feel like you've got another gear inside of you somewhere that you want to tap into? And what's that going to take for you?
Yeah, I think so. I honestly think if you lose that, then you've kind of lost the desire to go out there and play. I think for me, it's always, you have to believe that you got more and you can not achieve more, but like technically arrive at another place, or even mentally and emotionally. Like, I feel like I have a lot to work on, and I feel like I've made huge strides in my mental game as well. And so as a setter, the more experience you get, the better.
Yeah.
The more times you're playing against certain incredible blockers, or the more situations you see, the better you get. So I just believe preparing is something that I'm always going to do. And so with all that preparation and the experience, like there's always steps to be taken. And then just technically and like skill wise, I believe setting is like a never ending game. Like you can always get a little better, a little more precise, introduce different sets or like middle routes that you'd like to run the middle from further off the net than you think, or even just being a setter, like take less blockouts. Feel like I could do that a little more, or dig 2 more balls a match.
Right.
So there's always things. I don't know if that answers your question in specifics, but for me, there's always things that I'm like looking at that I want to take from other people's games and try to implement into how it fits my style.
Yeah. I think you're dead on there. It was either Jordan or Kobe or one of those two. I think I read a quote that said, "The day I stop learning is the day I retire."
Yeah.
Because then I have nothing more to push, right? It's like if I've come to the gym every day to learn something new or to try to develop my game or whatever. I don't care how good I am. I don't care if I'm the best of all time. The reason why I'm the best of all time is because I continue to have this type of mentality, right?
100%. I think it's just, for me, it's like you're coming in. I love learning and trying to get better, and I love the competition. Like once I lose that, then then I definitely am gonna I'm gonna have to retire, because I'm just gonna have to. I would have lost kind of the joy in
Right.
that I take in volleyball, and I honestly don't think I'll ever lose that, even when my body gives up and I'll be forced to retire.
You'll know it.
Yeah, I
there
was
comes a
gonna
day when
say.
you're like, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah, the body speaks pretty loud
Yeah.
sometimes nowadays.
um, let's talk a little bit about the national team for a little bit. So, you know, you're kind of neck deep in a long line of just like world-class American setters, right? Like Dvorak
Yeah.
to Stork to you know, to Loy. Do you feel a sense of like responsibility to that like history a little bit? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't. That's a good question. I don't know if I'd phrase it with responsibility. Um, I do consider it an honor to, you know, just hearing those names, like seeing all the things that they've done, all the things that they've accomplished in their careers, and the things that they've done for the game. Like, it's something that I want to aspire to be, something that I want to, you could even say, like, continue to hold the torch, carry the
Right.
torch from what those guys have done and what those guys have done for not only the United States, but the game of volleyball. And
Right.
so, it's kind of an interesting thing, because I'm always, hindsight and like big picture, looking into the big picture, like, yes, the answer is yes. But into my mind, where I'm at now, kind of my daily thoughts,
Sure.
it's like, how can I be the best me? How can I be um better for me, and where Micah Christenson is at today? How can I get better? And
Yeah.
so, when it's all said and done, I hope to be mentioned in that conversation with those, incredible, great names.
Yeah.
But I think the way that I get there is to get to be the best me that I can be.
Yeah. That's a great answer. Let's talk a little bit about the Olympics. So what did you learn competing in your first games in Rio? Like, you know, what did you learn in Rio about the
Yeah, I
Olympics?
mean, well, we had an interesting experience. So we didn't stay at the Olympic Village, right? So we stayed at a hotel that was much closer to the gym. Usually, the
Mm.
Olympic Village bus rides would have been like an hour and a half to an hour.
Oh man.
So
Ooh.
that was the strategy, was to omit that, and
Right.
then be able to be close to the Olympic Training Center, and to the, or whatever whatever that's called, like their
The the thing they
commute.
rent, whatever it ends up being.
Exactly, exactly. The center where that we train at and lift weights
Yeah.
at, and then the gym. So we didn't get that like traditional experience
I didn't know
outside
that.
of the volleyball
That's
court.
interesting.
Yeah. So this new one is going to be a whole new different experience as well.
Yeah.
We were actually in the Olympic Village for 2 days before the opening ceremonies.
Ah, okay.
So we got that little experience, but it wasn't really it, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, what I learned from the Olympics, I learned a ton, but just like everything's magnified. Um, every post game interview, every
Yeah.
emotion that you're feeling, and I think even like the the volleyball that was being played, like it's always, it's a heightened level of volleyball
Yeah.
that it's hard to recreate if you're not at the Olympics. It's
Right.
kind of a hard way to explain it, and I'm not sure if you can relate or not, but that's how I felt.
No, totally.
So yeah, everything was just magnified, intensified, and it was surreal.
Yeah. It's a gnarly experience. Um, what do you think it's going to take for you guys to to succeed in Tokyo, to bring home another gold? I mean, obviously you've got all the pieces. I would think that you're feeling pretty good about the team. You know, I had John on a little while ago, and I asked him the same question, and he knows too, going through the process a number of times, and like, look, you know, Beijing was my third Olympic Games, and we didn't medal in the other Olympics, and so it's like, I think people really need to understand that the margin of error between not getting a medal and winning a gold medal is really thin. It's like a play here or there in a match here or there. That's it. That was pretty much it. And so people say, well, if you say that, does winning a gold medal, is it kind of, do you need to be lucky? And I'm like, yeah, a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, look at what you guys had in Rio. You know, it's like you kind of lose that semifinal match by millimeters, right? And that's the difference between going on and competing for gold and then going on and you know, competing for bronze. And I think that's what people don't really understand, is that the margins are so thin when it comes to that.
Yeah, 100%. Like even in pool play, like margins go, like we lost our first two and we were almost out of it. Like if we had lost another, we were probably out. And
Right.
so we had to pull up the bootstraps and beat Brazil in Brazil,
Right.
France, who's one of the top teams in the world, one of the most hot teams in the world. And we got it done. And so then, you know, things changed in an instant. And
Right.
we start rolling. We roll through Poland in the quarters,
Right.
where
Which isn't a
a
tough
ton of
crossover. I
focus
mean, which
was.
isn't an easy crossover,
No,
by the way.
no. And so in 2012 in London, that is where the team got eliminated in London, was the
That's right.
quarters.
That's right.
So everybody's experience, more or the most recent experience, the sour taste in their mouth was, we gotta take care of the quarterfinals.
Right.
So we got there, and it was a lot of talk of like, quarterfinals, you know, you lose, you go home, and you
Right.
you don't get to compete for anything.
Yep.
So a lot of the talk before that was like, we want to learn from our experience in London, um and really take this and make it as a gold medal match. So that was already like a huge thing for us to get through the quarters, and like, okay, now we're in the medal rounds.
Right.
And so, like you said, like a ball here or there, a play here or there, and you're competing for a gold in a situation you're very comfortable in, that you've already, against a team you've already beaten once
Right.
in the Olympics. Yeah, and sometimes the ball falls the other way, and you gotta compete in a different way. So like you
Yeah.
said, I think obviously a little bit of luck is what, you're never going to say no to a little bit of luck. We're
No.
not going to count on it.
And, you
So we're
know,
not
like
counting on
Oprah
any luck.
says, luck is made too. I mean, it's, you know, it's
Yeah,
sometimes you create your own luck and sometimes luck comes your way. But the
yeah,
thing about the Olympics
absolutely.
is, if luck doesn't come your way and you don't take care of those little tiny little plays, then you got to wait another 4 years. And a lot can happen in 4 years. And for you guys, between Rio and Tokyo, it's 5 years. And so it's like, geez, like, you know, I can imagine you guys are just kind of itching to get back there and trying to just get it done. You know what I mean?
Itching. And I think the interesting thing is, like you said, 4 years, usually teams change a whole lot
Yeah.
in 4 years,
Or
and even,
coaching
even
staffs,
five,
even.
and coaching staffs. Yeah, exactly. And we have the same core guys.
Yeah.
Let's see, 6 out of 7 starters are
Right.
still on the court. Dave Smith replaced Dave Lee,
Right.
and we're back. And
Yep.
and so I think that's a huge advantage for us. I think for, now 5 more years of professional experience, of national team experience and maturity can
Yeah.
only help us.
Yeah.
But you stack all those cards up, and it seems so advantageous for us. But you still go back to, you need a lot of things to fall into place to be
Yeah.
able to compete for a gold medal. And
Yeah.
so we need to be healthy.
Yeah.
Two of our outside hitters had major shoulder surgeries, and
Yeah.
thankfully they're back. And I think almost could be a blessing that we're playing in 2021 as opposed
Right.
to 20. So
It's a good way of
for
thinking
for
about
in
it.
that regard, we're doing well with health. And so got to be healthy. And then it's an interesting situation. We haven't trained in over a year together.
Right. Right.
So, and I think we as Americans almost thrive a little bit in the uncomfortability of certain situations. We don't need to have everything set up real nice. Like, let's roll this ball out and let's play.
Yeah.
So I also think that's a big advantage for us. But, we don't have a national league. So we're not playing with our compatriots and teammates in the national team while we're playing pro. Like, very rarely does that happen. And a
Yeah.
lot of other countries are establishing that setter connection, or maintaining, for that matter. So there's a lot of factors. And, I mean,
It's
sorry, I'm
exciting, man.
just rambling, but yeah, I'm super stoked.
I'm excited for you guys too. I don't know. I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm not even going to say what I was going to say.
No, don't. You don't need to.
Yeah,
I
you're
got
good.
you. I already got it.
Let me switch gears a little bit. On my podcast, I kind of do like a quick fire Q&A just to kind of like get to know you a little bit. Typically, this first question is the one that you have to think about the most. Okay, so I want you to think about your all-time team. Everybody's at their prime. You get to pick from any era. It doesn't matter who you're going to put on the court. What 7 guys you put on the court?
That's a terrible question.
Look, there's no right or wrong answer, though. You look, there's been so many good players.
There can be.
I recognize how hard this question is, because I've had to answer it myself, and I struggled too. But look, you've been around a lot of really good, a lot of really great players. Who are you?
I'm going to show my youth here. And that's the unfortunate part, is that I wasn't like a volley nerd when I was younger. But gosh, okay. So it's hard not to include like a Karch or a Bernardi, as like, or Gianni, as, considered some of the best outsides or opposites. So I'm going to throw them as an outside.
Okay.
More ball control guys. I'm going to throw Leon as an outside.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Guys, he's the modern day.
Yep.
Oh man. Opposite is the struggle for me.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Because you only get to pick one.
I mean, you got I know, and you got so many. You got Steam in that, and Milkovic in that, like,
oh gosh, those are
in that
two
genre
good ones there.
Those are just beasts, just battling each other out.
Plus, you got Maddie. You put Anderson there too.
I was gonna say, you got the modern day guys that are coming and step in and pass for you too. Maddie. I'm gonna stay away from the opposite part. Or just say Clay, just because Hawaii boy, or Clay, or
that's
Maddie,
cool.
because we're American.
Stick with your Hawaiian guys.
American bias. Look, setter, I'm gonna put myself in there simply because I want to set all these guys.
Oh yeah, seriously, I would want to be on the court too.
So I'm just gonna put myself in there just to set all these guys. And middles, other than Ryan Millar, gosh,
that's podcast pressure right there.
You got to. Hey, you win. I think I want to throw Mazursky in there.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
But just because, I don't know, he's got these up and down years, like, I think just physically it might take a toll on him. But when he's up and he's going,
he's pretty dominant. Tough to stop that.
Yeah, and he's very skilled. Like, he can set the ball, he can dig the ball, he can serve the ball well.
He can switch to the right side and go dominate the gold medal match.
Yeah, just you know what I mean? Opposite. Exactly. Like, yeah, I think it's hard for me to leave that guy out, but oh my gosh, middle blockers of all time. I mean, you guys had some great battles with Brazil in there too.
Yeah, we did.
You guys had, and
do you know who was good? Was your coach in the middle? I don't know if you ever knew that.
Johnny, I knew
really
he was
good in the middle. That's how good of a player he was, because he could do anything he wanted. He could play on the outside, he could play on the right side, he could play in the middle. It was pretty incredible what he was able to do on the volleyball court. Plus, he's a great guy too.
Yeah, he's still, if his body, if you gave his shoulder to somebody, he could still play at the highest level right now.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't doubt that. Rocketing balls still. He stands on a table and I'll set gaps to him and he just bouncing in one, away, everywhere. And it's still quite impressive.
That's cool.
So it's cool to have him with all the experience he brings to be a coach for us. Gosh, man, I don't know. For a middle blocker.
You could put Max there
I want to
too,
throw. I
man.
want to.
That guy,
You could put Max there.
He's a force.
You could put Maxi there. You could put as an attacking middle Simone.
Yeah.
There, who's one of the craziest arms. Lucas, who's got a crazy arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a lot.
So just like, I can name a lot of people, but it's hard for me to pick.
Yeah.
Because it depends on, I really have to think about it. And then Libero, gosh,
who you
Eric, Zhenya, Eric Krebenikov, Sergio, all those guys. Gosh, I don't want to show my youth too much. Like, I want to throw it back a little bit, but I'm having a hard time. But
no, those guys that you said were all good.
Yeah, those guys, I'm going to throw those guys in there too.
I agree. I might have a little bit of bias just because I played against him so much, but I never saw anybody control the game from the libero position like Sergio did. Because he was everywhere. He was crazy. He would do everything.
He was everywhere.
It was incredible. Yeah. And so anyways, that's a good pick for you. All right. You did good. You kind of slither around it a little bit, but it's all right.
I'm a slither. I'm not even going to try to fake like I'm not. I'm not making any enemies on here.
What's something that a lot of people don't know about you? You have any like hidden talents or anything?
You ever seen the movie Lilo and Stitch?
Oh yeah.
You ever heard of it? So I was in the choir that sang that song in the movie.
Really?
So I was 1 year too young to be on the movie soundtrack, but as I grew and to be a year older and was eligible for the choir, we did like the bonus track CD. We sang on that and was recorded for that. Traveled the country singing it, Disneyland, Disney World, World Trade Center. We went all over the place singing.
That's cool.
Hawaiian
roller coaster ride. Wasn't that what it's called?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's right. I told you. I got kids, so I've seen that. There you go. I did not know that about you. That was a good one. What's the trait you most dislike about yourself?
Oh man. I guess that I'd most like and dislike. It's like
okay.
It's like a fine balance, double-edged sword is just like competitiveness. Competition. Yeah. Like I love it, but it also gets me into some trouble.
Your wife a volleyball player too? She is, right?
Yeah.
So do you guys, I'm assuming she's pretty competitive too, right?
Oh, she's competitive, and yeah, we have a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, we speak each other's language for sure, which is a lot of fun. I don't really get in trouble with my wife anymore with that because we figured that out how to.
She knows where you're coming from.
Yeah, how to walk around and make sure we're not offending anybody.
Right.
But then when somebody that doesn't know me is like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I should have took it a little easier.
How about the flip side of this? What's a trait that you most dislike in others? Does anything really bug you?
I think like lazy, like making excuses, like laziness or making excuses.
Yeah.
Like playing the victim. Like, well, that's why this isn't happening for me. Like you're lucky that you got this shot and this and that. Like you have no idea.
Right.
How many times I've been in the gym at midnight at SC using my like card just to serve 200 balls.
Right.
You know, like all these things, they don't just happen. So that's something that bugs me a lot. And I just don't really give anybody the time of day if they come to me with that kind of stuff.
Totally.
Just
I get that.
They making excuses part.
If you never got into volleyball, what do you think you'd be doing right now? Playing basketball?
Probably pursuing basketball.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I still dream about it. I think about it. You know, I think I'm like a pretty overly confident person. So
yeah,
I always think of like, man, I could play in Europe here if you give me a year.
Yeah.
And so, but probably not true. But
when I played in Trento, they had a like what was it? It was like a B2 team there.
Okay.
And they had both of their point guards were down, and they're like, hey, you're American, right? And I'm like, well, yeah. Do you like basketball? And I'm like, yeah, I love basketball. They're like, you want to run point on our team for a game? And I'm like,
Oh,
hell
dude,
yeah, I
that's a
do.
dream.
And so I got out there and I balled a game with them. They just threw me out there as the
No
point. So
way.
I
You
ran the
did it. You
point.
actually,
We were just, it was more like a pickup game. I'm like, guys, I don't know any of your plays or anything. And they're like, dude, we don't run plays. We just try to shoot the ball. And I'm like, all right. They're just find us when we're open. And I'm like, okay. And if they're like, if you're open, feel free to shoot. And I'm like, dude, this is like a dream come true. It was so fun. I got some awesome
that's
pictures of
literally my
me
dream.
there. They gave me a jersey, so I'm all decked out. It was pretty fun.
Dude, what? That's the dream. That is.
Totally.
So your team, like Trento Volley, let you play. They're like, yeah, yeah, go play, whatever.
Yeah,
They
they
didn't know.
they said they were
Nice.
like, "Hey, like take it really easy." Like
Love it.
they were even like,
Love
"Maybe
it.
you don't jump so much and like don't go
Yeah.
in the paint." And I'm like, "Look, whatever. I'm going to be running the point, so I'm not going to be in the paint anyways. I'll just pass the ball a lot. I'll take
Oh
it
my
really easy." But
gosh.
it was fun though, man.
That is it. That is, oh my gosh. If any Italian team is watching this right now, you guys need a sub,
You're
hit
ready to
me
fill
up.
in,
But
huh?
I'm
That's
ready
funny.
to fill in. That would be a dream. I used to run with the SC basketball team during like some
Cool.
pickup games and all that stuff. That was a lot of fun.
That's cool. Okay, dream vacation. Money's no object. Where are you going?
Oh man. Okay, well, so I guess my wife and I have always dreamed of like doing those overwater bungalows in Tahiti.
Yes, that's mine too. Bora Bora,
Really?
Overwater Bungalow,
Let's
Bora Bora.
go. All right, yeah.
That's mine.
Yeah. That just we've talked about that for a while, and then we saw the price tag, and we said maybe a little later.
Yeah, I said money's no object though, so you're good. It's all
Yeah.
free.
There we go. That's
Um,
that.
this will be interesting for you because where you're at, it's like the mecca of food. But last meal on Earth, it's your last meal. And look, I know how good the food is in Modena. So
Yeah, I mean, food's great in Modena, but I'm going back to Hawaii. I'm eating
nice,
my Hawaiian style. I'm doing like a big old thing of poke and like
nice,
my mom's fried rice. Just eating bad because like being an athlete too, like you got to eat well, you got to watch your
right,
diet, this and that. So I'm letting it loose for the last
good.
meal.
Name a movie or a TV show that you teared up on.
Oh man, that I teared up on. I'll never forget. I don't even know the name of the movie anymore. It was like a wolf movie. It was about the snow dog. It was Snow Dogs or like Eight Below or something. And like one of the dogs died. And I was in a movie theater and
Ooh.
I was crying. And I was like, dude, what am I like? Nobody, I hope nobody's looking at me right now. I was with my friends, I think, and I was crying. Sad movie.
I had a funny story about this too because when you're playing in Italy, you go on the bus a lot because you got to go to other places, right? So we're on the
Yeah.
bus, and I just got this was a while ago, of course, but I got the Notebook. I don't know if you've seen the Notebook, but so I got the Notebook
Yeah.
and I'm watching it on the bus, and I didn't know really what it was about, and then I'm like, dude, this is getting emotional. Like I could feel myself start getting emotional, and I didn't want to like start crying in front of the other guys. And so I put my jacket over me like I was asleep, but I wasn't. I was watching the Notebook and I was just bawling under my jacket in front of everybody.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love that you didn't stop it. I
No,
love that you just
no, no,
went like,
no.
no, I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna be
Totally.
in the emotions. I love it.
All right, last one, and I'll let you go. Give me one word you hope people would remember you by.
Whew. Oh my gosh, this is hard.
Yeah, this one's a tough one too.
I think I fall on passionate.
Yeah, you can see
Um,
that when you play. I love the way you play because I was kind of the same way. Like I love playing volleyball so much. And like when you're in those moments and good things happen and you kind of feeling it and you're not afraid to just show how much you're enjoying what's happening right now. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. It's like for me, it's like if I'm not doing that at 100% of what I can, then I don't want to be doing it. Because, and if I'm not super passionate about it, then I don't feel like I'm doing it justice
Right.
to be giving it my all, whether it be being a setter, being a volleyball player, or being a husband, or
Yeah.
being a father.
Right.
It's like I want to be considered passionate, all in on what I'm doing. Because if I'm not giving it all that I got, then I feel like I shouldn't be doing it. And I feel like I preach that too. It's like, if you don't really want to be here, then don't. Like, nobody's forcing you to be here. If you
Yeah.
want to be here, let's do this, and let's go all in, and don't be afraid to get your heart broken, because you're not going to find as much joy if you're not completely in it and being 100% passionate through it. So
Totally agree with that. Carl McGowan, my old coach, rest in peace, by the way, great
yeah,
coach. He used to tell us all the time, if you're going to be here, you might as well be here, because it's your
yeah, that's
choice. It's your choice. So if you're choosing to be here, you might as well give it all you got, because like eventually this isn't going to be around. Practice is going to be over, right? The match is going to be completed. You're going to go back home. You're going to retire, whatever it ends up being. So if you're choosing to be here, then be here and do all you can to make it happen. And I always thought that's a really simple but really good way of thinking about it.
absolutely, that's still in the gym today.
Good.
That's saying, yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
it resonates with all of us.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you taking time, man. Good luck with the Coppa Italia and Bucalupo, and say hi to Johnny for me. Tell him you talk to me, and I'll tell him I said what's up. He's a good man.
I
So
will,
yeah.
absolutely.
All right,
I
bud.
appreciate
Take
it.
care of
Yeah,
yourself
it's
and your
been a
family.
pleasure.
Yeah. Hopefully this isn't the last time, man. I would love to get you back on at some point.
Anytime. This is a lot of fun, man. Thanks for
All
having
right,
me.
bud. Take care. Bye.
All right, brother.